Please Like Me, written by and starring Australian comedian Josh Thomas, has been praised for its realistic and brutally honest portrayal of 20-something life in suburban Melbourne. To the first-time viewer, it may seem as if Josh's character's homosexuality is the only unique element of the drama rom-com, but this is in fact far from true. Through clever techniques of realism, which we can separate into the categories of cultural, social, and political realism, Please Like Me ascends the boundaries and archetypes of traditional television to give us a universal experience through a series of episodes and characters who feel uniquely and ultimately real. Using production design and nifty camera work, Josh Thomas presents us with a realistic, instantly familiar world within the universe of a typical Melbourne middle-class neighbourhood, suburbia, and reflecting the lives of the ordinary Australian and the social problems they faced every day. Please Like Me incorporates a kind of colourful, Wes Anderson-inspired aesthetic to fit the complex personalities of Josh, Tom and Claire, and John the dog, into a seemingly ordinary suburban setting. It's chaotic enough to reflect their rapidly fluctuating states of mind, but comfortable enough to show that they're satisfied within the realism of their cultural places in society. This sense of comfort isn't always as easily attainable on the Australian screen. As the Australian playwright David Williamson once observed, "We need to feel important enough to have fictions written about us, or we'll always feel like real life happens somewhere else and is spoken in accents other than our own." A key component of the style of Josh Thomas's writing is the naturalistic feel of it, most likely due to the fact that he based many of the conversations and situations in the show on biographical elements of his own life. In this way, the humour is circumstantial and organic. Rather than forcing gags, the show is more sincere about the way humour emerges at the most unexpected times in real life.
In a democracy, if you want change, you have to change people's minds, and people look at the internet.
People like cats now.
Fuck cats.
Some of the most emotional moments in the show in true realism are mumbled, stumbled through, whispered, and sometimes even unspoken. For example, in the scene where Claire and Josh share an intimate moment of reflection, dialogue seems improvised and is sometimes overlapping or changing in direction from line to line. This is similar in some aspects to the mumblecore genre of film, which emerged in 2007 with films in the festival circuit, pioneered by the likes of the Duplass brothers, Joe Swanberg, Noah Baumbach, and his partner in crime Greta Gerwig. The genre originated as a method of coping with low budgets through naturalistic scripts and untrained actors, but soon broke into the mainstream. Jordan Tim identifies the cornerstone of mumblecore productions as a series of vignettes, talky social scenarios in the lives of hipsters in their 20s as they deal with relationships and struggle to communicate via the self-consciously inarticulate manner that's coming to define their generation. In this way, a lot of the catharsis or empathy is internalized in Please Like Me. In fact, in the same conversation, a small throwaway line from Josh sums up the essential thesis of the entire show.
Nah, we don't indulge each other. I'm not indulging. No.
Instead, they find friendship and connections in the people they don't need to impress or indulge. So what the title is really saying is, please like me, although I know the most important people already do. One IndieWire review described the show as an inside joke as a worldview, and this sums up perfectly how Josh Thomas and his team used the struggle to communicate, to ironically communicate, a social and emotionally inclusive message to their young audience. The same inside joke serves as a platform to deal with heavy contemporary issues, such as abortion, mental illness, suicide, self-harm, divorce, interracial relationships, rape, and religion, all of which are based on true events in Josh Thomas's own life, and of course, the issue of homosexuality. Despite the sexuality of the protagonist, Josh Thomas maintains that Please Like Me isn't a queer show. Stuart Richards talks about what he has dubbed the new queer cinema renaissance, which he believes is a resurgence of films that service a community that is in need of queer intellectual stimulation. He suggests that this renaissance is allowing filmmakers and writers to harness typical film and television forms and make them accessible for realistic queer characters without being called scandalous or experimental, citing arthouse films such as Weekend and the works of Xavier Dolan. This now gives both the characters within the films and the films themselves agency over their sexuality. In Please Like Me, gay stereotypes are actively avoided, and Josh's coming out is not in any way a political statement. It's just a representation of his realistic experience as a gay man. However, this isn't to suggest that Please Like Me didn't make any political impact when it aired. Initially, it was considered too gay for ABC 1 and was moved to ABC 2, but when it began to make international tidal waves and brought gay protagonists into the mainstream, it was moved back to the primetime spot on ABC 1. Richard's article also points out how the rapidly changing political climates affect portrayals in contemporary queer cinema. Today, independent films such as Call Me By Your Name are being nominated for Best Picture Oscars and considered a universal love story. Yet it's important to remember that when Please Like Me was first made in 2013, homophobic attitudes were often considered the norm, and gay marriage would not be legal for another 5 years. Hence, while the show didn't try to actively affect political or social change, it became a reflection of the times and progressed politically to become more open about discussing many social issues as Josh himself progressed as a person. Ultimately, though racy at times, Please Like Me manages to stay safe most of the time by portraying its universal message through cultural and social familiarity, only occasionally dipping into the darker sides of true realism on screen. But what started as a biography and an inside joke now has the potential to act as a gateway to positive cultural, social and political change in Australia, perhaps even spearheading a well overdue queer renaissance on the Australian screen.